I knew something was wrong the second my Outlook calendar pinged with that meeting invite at 7:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not 8 o'clock, not 7:30 to 7:43, like they were trying to catch me off guard before I'd even finished my first cup of coffee. The subject line read Operational Review, H. Morrison, and it was from Craig Peterson in HR. That's corporate speak for we're about to mess up your day. Name's Howard Morrison, but most folks call me Hank. I'm 49 years old, and I've been running operations at Apex Industrial Manufacturing for 18 years. Started right out of college, worked my way up from floor supervisor to senior operations manager. Thought I'd retire from this place. My wife Sarah used to joke that I loved that plant more than I loved her. She wasn't entirely wrong, though I never admitted it while she was alive. Lost her to cancer 3 years ago, and since then, work became pretty much everything I had left besides our 2 kids and my dog Rex. When I walked into conference room C that morning, the smell hit me first. That weird mix of industrial carpet cleaner and nervous sweat. You know that smell? The one that says something bad is about to happen. Craig was already there, perched behind his laptop like some kind of corporate vulture. He's one of those HR guys who probably studied management theory in business school but never actually managed anything real. All process, no substance. Next to him sat Mike Rodriguez, my boss for the past 6 years. Mike's a decent enough guy most of the time, worked his way up through the ranks like me. We'd covered for each other plenty over the years, when his kid was in the hospital with appendicitis, when I needed time off for Sarah's chemo treatments. But today, Mike couldn't even look me in the eye, just kept staring at his coffee cup like it held the secrets of the universe. Hank, thanks for coming on short notice, Craig said with that fake smile they teach in HR school. The one that's supposed to say, this isn't personal, but really means, I'm about to ruin your week and probably sleep just fine tonight. My chair was already pulled out. They don't do that unless it's bad news. In my 18 years here, I'd seen this setup exactly 4 times before. 3 layoffs and 1 firing for cause. Never thought I'd be sitting in that chair myself. Then came the speech. Oh boy, the speech. Craig opened his laptop, pulled up what looked like a PowerPoint slide, and started reading like he was announcing the weather. As part of our ongoing restructuring initiatives to optimize operational efficiency and align with current market conditions, we've determined that your position will be eliminated effective immediately. Translation: we don't want to pay your salary anymore, so we found someone younger who will do it for half the cost and won't ask awkward questions about safety protocols. I sat there for a minute, letting it sink in. 18 years. Nearly 2 decades of my life gone with a few sentences of corporate jargon. I'd given this company my best years. Worked through holidays, missed family dinners, stayed late to fix problems that weren't even my responsibility. Eliminated, I repeated slowly. After 18 years. Craig slid a manila folder across the table like he was dealing cards in some twisted game of poker. Here's your separation package. You'll find information about your final paycheck, COBRA coverage, and the terms of your severance agreement. We've tried to be as generous as possible given the circumstances. I opened the folder. 2 weeks severance. 2 weeks for 18 years of my life. I'd seen people with half my experience walk out with better packages. Hell, I'd helped write some of those packages myself when I was involved in restructuring decisions. But here's the thing that really got under my skin. 3 weeks earlier, I'd filed a safety report about a chemical leak in Building 7. Nothing catastrophic, just some industrial solvent seeping through a cracked containment wall. Could have been fixed for maybe 15 grand, pocket change for a company our size. But the leak was near the main ventilation intake, which meant it was getting into the air system that served half the plant. Our guys were breathing that stuff every day, and some of it was nasty. Benzene compounds, methylene chloride, stuff that accumulates in your system over time. I'd followed protocol exactly. Filed the report with my immediate supervisor, waited for a response. When nothing happened after a week, I escalated to Mike. He told me he'd look into it and get back to me. Another week passed. Still nothing. So I did what any responsible operations manager would do. I filed a formal safety complaint with OSHA, standard procedure when internal channels fail. I'd done it twice before in my career, once for faulty electrical wiring that could have killed someone, once for inadequate fall protection on the loading docks. Both times, the company fixed the problems within 30 days and life went on. No drama, no retaliation, just business as usual. This time felt different from the start. Within days of filing the OSHA complaint, I noticed changes. Fewer people made eye contact in the hallways. Meetings I'd normally be included in suddenly happened without me. My weekly status reports to upper management stopped getting responses. "Is this about the safety report I filed?" I asked Craig directly, looking him square in the eye. He did that thing where he tilted his head slightly, like a confused dog. "I'm sorry, what safety report?" Mike finally looked up from his coffee, but only for a second. "Hank, this is purely a business decision. Nothing personal. The market's been tough and we've had to make some difficult choices. Nothing personal." Right. Just like it wasn't personal when they ignored a legitimate safety hazard for 3 weeks. Just like it wasn't personal when they decided my 18 years of institutional knowledge was worth exactly 2 weeks of severance pay. They had me escorted out like I was some kind of security risk. 18 years of loyalty, and they had Jerry from security walk me to my office while I packed my things into a cardboard box. Jerry's a good guy. Been working security there almost as long as I'd been in operations. He kept apologizing under his breath, said he didn't like doing this kind of thing, made it clear this wasn't his idea. I packed up my nameplate, the one Sarah had made for me when I got promoted to senior operations manager. A coffee mug from the company picnic in 2018 with a chip in the handle from when I dropped it getting out of my truck. A framed photo of Sarah and our kids from their high school graduation, both of them in their caps and gowns, Sarah beaming with pride between them. That picture had gotten me through a lot of long days. There was also a small cactus on my windowsill, barely 6 inches tall. Sarah had bought it for me years ago, said it reminded her of me, tough, stubborn, and didn't need much attention to survive. Jerry started to say something about company property, but I just looked at him and he shrugged. Some fights aren't worth having. As I walked through that plant for the last time, past machines I'd helped install and calibrate, past production lines I'd optimized to reduce downtime by 30%, past workers who'd become friends over nearly 2 decades, one thought kept running through my head. They didn't just fire me, they silenced me, but they made one crucial mistake. They assumed I'd go quietly. The drive home was a blur. Muscle memory took over. Same route I'd driven twice a day for 18 years. Past the McDonald's where I grabbed coffee on early mornings, past the gas station where I knew all the attendants by name. Everything looked the same, but it all felt different now, like I was seeing it through someone else's eyes. Back home, I sat on my couch with that box of 18 years and tried to make sense of it all. My dog Rex came over and put his head on my knee like he understood something was wrong. Dogs have that sixth sense about human emotions. Sarah always said Rex was better at reading people than most people were. The house felt too quiet. For 3 years since Sarah passed, I'd filled the silence with work. Early mornings, late nights, weekend projects. Now suddenly I had all the time in the world and nothing to fill it with. The silence was deafening. That first week was rough. You spend nearly 2 decades getting up at the same time, driving the same route, seeing the same people, dealing with the same problems, and then suddenly it's all gone. The routine that defined your life just vanishes. I found myself waking up at 5:30 a.m. out of habit, reaching for my phone to check work emails that would never come again. I tried to stay busy, cleaned out the garage, organized tools I hadn't touched in years, fixed a leaky faucet that had been dripping for months, but none of it felt meaningful. It was just busy work, a way to avoid thinking about what had really happened and what I was going to do about it. By Friday of that first week, the shock had worn off and something else started brewing underneath. Call it anger. Call it determination, call it stubbornness. I knew I couldn't just roll over and take this. I'd worked too hard and too long to let them push me out the door without a fight. I started by calling my old friend Bill Thompson. We'd known each other since college, back when we were both young and stupid and thought we'd change the world. Bill went to law school while I got into manufacturing. He'd been practicing labor law for about 40 years now, mostly representing workers in disputes with their employers. Bill wasn't one of those flashy attorneys you see on TV commercials. He worked out of a small office downtown above a used bookstore, handled mostly union disputes and workplace issues for regular folks like me. "Hank, good to hear from you," Bill said when I called Friday afternoon. "Though I'm guessing this isn't a social call given the tone of your voice." I laid out the whole story, the chemical leak in Building 7, my repeated attempts to get it addressed through internal channels, the OSHA complaint I'd filed when nothing happened, and then the sudden termination 3 weeks later. Bill listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on what sounded like a legal pad. "Sounds like textbook retaliation to me," he said when I finished, "but we'll need to prove the connection between your safety complaint and the termination. Companies are usually smart enough not to put that kind of thing in writing." What do you think my chances are? Depends on what we can find. You still have your original employment contract from when you started? Should be around here somewhere. Why? Sometimes companies put clauses in those old contracts that they forget about later, especially from 18 years ago, when Apex was still growing and trying to attract good people. Back then, they might have made promises they thought they'd never have to keep. It took me about an hour to find it, buried in a file cabinet in my home office that I hadn't opened in years. The contract was dated March 15th, 2006, back when Apex was still a smaller regional company trying to compete with the big players. The paper was yellowed at the corners, still carrying that faint smell of old printer ink and the optimism I'd felt when I signed it. I'd been 31 then, just married to Sarah for 2 years, thinking about starting a family and building a career. The salary they'd offered was good, not great, but the benefits were solid, and they'd made it clear there was room for advancement. I remember being impressed that they'd put everything in writing, spelled out exactly what they expected from me and what I could expect from them. Now, 18 years later, I read through those 20 pages more carefully than I had the first time. Past the standard stuff about job responsibilities and vacation accrual that I'd focused on back then. Past the sections about confidentiality and intellectual property that every company includes these days. And there, on page 14, in a section titled Employee Protections, I found something that made me sit up straight. Companies shall not terminate, demote, suspend, or otherwise retaliate against any employee who, in good faith, reports safety violations, regulatory non-compliance, or other matters of legitimate concern to appropriate governmental authorities. I read it 3 times to make sure I understood it correctly. Then I read it out loud to Rex, who wagged his tail like he knew this was important news. Then I called Bill back. Found something, I told him when he picked up. Page 14, Employee Protections Clause. Bill was quiet for a moment after I read it to him word for word. Then he let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned. That's what we call a whistleblower protection clause. Pretty ironclad, too, especially for a contract from 2006. Most companies weren't that explicit about it back then. What's that mean for me? Means they can't fire you for filing that OSHA report. If we can prove the termination was retaliation for the safety complaint, you've got a case. A good one. The timing alone is suspicious. OSHA complaint on a Monday, termination 3 weeks later? That's not going to look like coincidence to a labor board investigator. For the first time in a week, I felt something other than anger and confusion. Hope, maybe. Or at least the possibility that I wasn't completely powerless in this situation. What's our next step? I'm going to need copies of everything you've got. The OSHA complaint. Any emails about the safety issue. Your personnel file if you have access to it. We'll file a wrongful termination claim with the State Labor Board first thing Monday morning. Then we request all internal communications related to your employment status during the relevant time period. How long does something like this usually take? Depends on how cooperative they want to be. Could be a few months, could be a year. But I've got a feeling Apex is going to want to settle this quietly once they realize what they've stepped into. Monday morning came faster than I expected. Bill filed the wrongful termination claim with the State Labor Board, along with a formal request for documents under the state's discovery rules. The paperwork was straightforward, documented timeline of my safety report, the OSHA filing, and my termination exactly 21 days later. We also requested all internal emails, memos, and communications related to my employment status during the 60 days leading up to my termination. Apex's response came back faster than Bill had expected. Too fast, actually. When a company responds to a document request within 48 hours, Bill explained over coffee Wednesday morning, it usually means one of 2 things. Either they've got nothing to hide and can produce everything quickly, or they're panicking and trying to get ahead of the situation. Their legal team had sent a formal letter denying any connection between my termination and the safety report. They claimed the restructuring had been planned for months as part of a broader cost-cutting initiative, that my position was eliminated for legitimate business reasons, unrelated to any complaints I might have filed with regulatory agencies. Problem is, Bill said, scanning through their response, they can't produce any documentation to back that up. No emails about restructuring plans, no budget analyses showing why your specific position was redundant, no organizational charts showing the new structure. When you've been planning a major restructuring for months, there's always a paper trail. Always. The real breakthrough came 2 weeks later when Bill subpoenaed their internal communications. The state labor board investigator, a woman named Patricia Walsh with 25 years of experience in workplace disputes, had granted our discovery request with unusual speed. Bill said that was a good sign. Experienced investigators can smell a cover-up from a mile away. Apex's lawyers tried to claim attorney-client privilege on most of the communications, but the judge wasn't buying it. Internal emails between non-legal personnel discussing employment decisions don't qualify for privilege protection, and Bill knew exactly which buttons to push to get what we needed. When the emails finally arrived, they were more damaging than we'd hoped for. There were quite a few exchanges between Craig Peterson in HR, Mike Rodriguez, and the plant manager discussing what they called my attitude problem after I'd filed the OSHA complaint. One email from Craig actually used the phrase, "We need to find a way to address the Morrison situation before this gets out of hand." Another one from Mike mentioned that my recent behavior has become disruptive to plant operations and team morale, but the smoking gun was an email from the plant manager to the regional VP sent 2 days before my termination. HR believes we have sufficient documentation to support termination for cause if necessary, but recommend we frame this as a restructuring to avoid potential blowback from the recent OSHA filing. They actually put it in writing, Bill said, shaking his head in amazement. 20 years of practicing employment law, and I still can't believe how stupid smart people can be when they think they're being clever. The company's lawyers immediately went into damage control mode. Within a week of our receiving the internal communications, they requested a settlement conference with the labor board mediator. Their first offer was what Bill politely called insulting: 6-month severance and a mutual non-disclosure agreement. They want to pay you to go away quietly, Bill explained. Classic corporate response when they know they're caught. Throw some money at the problem and hope it disappears. How much money are we talking about? Their opening offer is about $85,000 GTN. Plus, they want you to sign a broad NDA that would prevent you from discussing not just the settlement terms, but the underlying safety issues that started this whole mess. I thought about it for about 10 seconds. Not interested. Good, Bill said with a grin, because I think we can do a lot better than that. We declined their offer and pushed forward with the formal hearing process. Bill scheduled depositions for Craig Peterson, Mike Rodriguez, and the plant manager. Under oath, their stories started falling apart faster than cheap furniture in a windstorm. Craig admitted under questioning that he'd never seen any documentation about eliminating my position before the day of my termination. When Bill asked him to explain the Morrison situation email, Craig stumbled through an explanation about performance concerns that he couldn't substantiate with any specific examples or documentation. Mike's deposition was even more damaging. When Bill asked him to describe the recent behavior he'd mentioned in his email, Mike couldn't point to a single incident. He admitted that my work performance had been consistently rated as exceeds expectations in all formal reviews, including the one completed just 2 months before my termination. The plant manager really sealed their fate. When Bill asked him about the chemical leak I'd reported, he confirmed that it had been a legitimate safety concern. More damaging, he admitted that the leak had been repaired 2 months after my termination, which meant they'd known about the problem all along but chose to ignore it until after I was gone. We wanted to address it, he said during the deposition, but budget constraints required us to prioritize other maintenance issues. So you prioritized budget concerns over worker safety? Bill asked. That's not how I'd characterize it. How would you characterize leaving a chemical leak unrepaired for 3 months? The plant manager's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. 5 months after filing the complaint, Apex came back to the table with a serious settlement offer. Their lawyers had clearly done the math on how much a public hearing would cost them, not just in legal fees but in reputation damage. A wrongful termination case involving workplace safety retaliation wasn't the kind of publicity a manufacturing company wanted, especially one that worked with government contracts. They're offering full reinstatement with back pay and restored seniority, Bill explained over lunch at a diner downtown, or a cash settlement of $450,000 plus full coverage of our legal fees. They'll also agree to implement a comprehensive safety audit of all facilities and publicly disclose the results. I sat back in the booth trying to process the numbers. $450,000 was more money than I'd made in the past 3 years combined. It would pay off the house, set up proper college funds for both kids, and leave enough for a comfortable retirement when the time came. What's the catch? They want this wrapped up within 30 days, and they want a broad non-disclosure agreement. Nothing about the settlement terms, nothing about the underlying safety issues, nothing about their internal communications we uncovered. I thought about it for exactly 1 day. At 49, with 2 kids still finishing college and a mortgage that had 12 years left on it, I couldn't afford to be unemployed much longer. My severance had run out months ago, and I'd been living off savings and the small life insurance payout from Sarah's death. But more than the money, I wanted them to admit they were wrong. I wanted some kind of acknowledgement that what they'd done wasn't just illegal, but dangerous to the people who still worked there. "I'll take the cash settlement," I told Bill when I called him back, "but I want something else too." "What's that?" "I wanted them to write a letter acknowledging that my safety report was legitimate and that the chemical leak posed a real risk to employee health, and I want that letter included in the public safety audit disclosure." Bill was quiet for a moment. "That's going to be a tough sell. Admitting the safety risk opens them up to potential liability from other employees who might have been exposed. Then they shouldn't have ignored the problem for 3 months. Fair point. Let me see what I can do." It took another 2 weeks of negotiations, but Bill managed to get most of what I wanted. The final settlement included a public acknowledgement that my safety report had identified legitimate concerns that required immediate attention. They stopped short of admitting the leak had actually harmed anyone, but they agreed to state that employee safety concerns raised through appropriate channels will be investigated and addressed promptly in accordance with company policy and regulatory requirements. Not exactly the full confession I'd hoped for, but better than nothing. The final settlement was signed on a Friday afternoon in November, almost exactly 8 months after that first meeting in Conference Room C. $450,000, plus $47,000 in legal fees, plus the public acknowledgement I'd requested. The check cleared the following Monday. But the best part came 2 weeks later when Janet Cooper, a former colleague who'd worked in quality control, called to tell me what was happening at the plant. "Craig Peterson got fired," she said, barely able to contain her satisfaction. "New HR director came in last month and cleaned house. And you know that chemical leak you reported? Turns out it was worse than anyone thought. They had to shut down Building 7 for 3 weeks while they brought in environmental specialists to properly remediate the area. OSHA came back for a full inspection and found 2 other leaks that nobody had reported. What about the workers who were exposed? Companies offering free medical monitoring for anyone who worked in that area during the past 2 years. Plus, they've hired a new safety director and implemented an anonymous reporting system for safety concerns. It felt good to know that something positive had come out of all this mess. The money was nice, but knowing that other people wouldn't have to breathe toxic chemicals because of something I'd started, that meant more than any settlement check. I didn't pop champagne or celebrate with a fancy dinner when the money hit my account. I just sat on my back porch with Rex and thought about what it all meant. I'd spent 18 years building something at that company, and they'd tried to throw it all away to cover up their own negligence. But here's what I learned through this whole experience. Your reputation and your principles are worth more than any paycheck. Experience matters, especially when you're dealing with people who think they can push you around because you're older or because they assume you won't fight back. And sometimes, just sometimes, the system actually works the way it's supposed to. You just have to be willing to stand up for yourself and see it through to the end. I used part of the settlement money to pay off the house completely. Sarah and I had refinanced it twice over the years, and it felt good to finally own it free and clear. The rest went into retirement accounts and college funds for the kids. They're both doing well. My daughter's finishing her master's degree in environmental engineering, and my son's in his 2nd year of law school. Sarah would be proud of how they turned out. 3 companies have already reached out about operations management positions. Word gets around in this industry, and apparently, being the guy who stood up to his old company and won isn't the career killer I thought it might be. In fact, it seems to be the opposite. Companies want people who know how to do the right thing even when it's difficult. Mike Rodriguez called me last month. He'd been promoted to plant manager after the previous guy was transferred to a different facility. He wanted to apologize, he said. Explained that he'd been under pressure from upper management to keep quiet about the safety issues, that he regretted not backing me up when I needed support. I accepted his apology because holding grudges is bad for your health and your peace of mind. But I also told him that the next time he sees something wrong, he should remember that doing the right thing is usually harder than staying quiet. But it's worth it in the end. These days, I wake up without an alarm clock for the first time in 18 years. I take Rex for longer walks through the neighborhood, actually noticing things I'd driven past 1,000 times without seeing. I'm reading books I never had time for, fixing things around the house that had been on my to-do list for years, and I'm thinking about what I want to do with the next chapter of my life. Maybe I'll start consulting for smaller manufacturers, helping them set up proper safety protocols and compliance programs. Maybe I'll go back to school and get that engineering degree I always thought about. Or maybe I'll just find another operations job and do what I've always done, make sure things run right and keep people safe. Whatever comes next, I know one thing for sure. I'm not afraid to speak up anymore. Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Too many good people get pushed around by companies that think they can get away with anything. Subscribe if you want more stories about regular folks who fought back and won. And remember, read your contracts, document everything, and never let them tell you that standing up for what's right isn't worth the fight. Your experience and integrity aren't liabilities as you age. They're weapons that get sharper with time, and companies fear employees who know their worth and aren't afraid to prove it.